Cam Rising and Cole Bishop spoke to the Pac-12 media at Pac-12 Media Day. What did they have to say? And Utah lands a commitment from a 4-star running back. All that and more on today's Locked On Utes.
You are Locked On Utes, your daily podcast on the Utah Utes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for making Locked On Utes your first listen every single day. We're available on all platforms, including YouTube and wherever you may get your podcast. My name is JT Wistcill, former intern inside the University of Utah Athletic Department. This is your first time tuning into our show. Make sure you guys like and subscribe. I'd love to interact with you guys in the YouTube comments as well. And just appreciate you guys who do listen to our show every single day. On today's show, we're talking about Utah landing a 4-star running back commit. Also talking about Cam Rising commenting on the Florida game. Cole Bishop had some comments as well. And speaking of Cam Rising and Cole Bishop, they both took questions from the Pac-12 media during Pac-12 Media Day this past Friday. So thought today would be a good time for us to dive in and talk about some of the comments and just what those players discussed and what we can learn from them. The first thing that was on everyone's mind, obviously, was Cam Rising's recovery. And he did speak to that when asked about it. He said, "I'm doing great. The knee is doing great." And he's been focusing on his rehab. And he said, everything is going the way it's supposed to be. Now, we know from yesterday, Coach Whittingham, or from Friday, as we discussed on yesterday's show, Coach Whittingham said that, hey, Cam is really a more day-to-day kind of thing right now. They're kind of waiting to check out and see what's going on. Not even day-to-day, I should say. Cam is more so a game time, or it's going to come down to the wire is the correct word I'm looking for. Cam's ability to play in the Florida game is going to come down to the last minute. Brant Keith is going to be good to go, but Cam is going to come down to the last minute. And I think that's what we kind of expected, right? We've heard for a while now that Cam is going to play in the Florida game, but I'm not surprised to hear Coach Whittingham keep it a little bit more vague, right? Because there is a chance he could miss it. If I had to bet one way or another right now, just based on everything we've heard from ESPN 700, when Cam's come on and just said it himself to Bill Riley, to Porter Larson, that's where I feel like Cam is going to play in the Florida game. But I definitely think there's a chance he doesn't. And the coaches and the medical staff are going to be smart with him. And it's going to be interesting to see how this whole situation plays out. But yeah, I feel like Cam's going to play, but I think it's not surprising for him to say like, hey, my knee's doing great. I'm doing good. Like just kind of focused on my rehab and how he's just trying to get better every single day. And he feels like he's on track to continue to do what he's supposed to do. That's nothing new. I did think one thing that was very interesting was one of the media members. Actually, I think the second question that was asked to Cam and Cole was just their thoughts on Andy Ludwig as a fast rising head coaching candidate overall. And I don't pretend to be the most connected person in college football, but that was definitely news to me. And it would go against some comments that Ludwig has made in the past in general. And I don't know about him interviewing for head coaching jobs as of recently. I'm sure if some of you remember, you can remind me in the comments. But anyways, this is a piece, as I said, Ludwig then rumored to be this hot and up and coming head coaching candidate. I'm just not sure about that because let's look back at some comments he made back in March. And this comes to us from Josh Furlong of KSL.com. He wrote a story on these Ludwig quotes. And this is what Ludwig said back into the media in March. "I came back in 2019 to finish my career with Coach Witt," Ludwig said. "Matter of factly, there was some intrigue with the position, but as all things measured out," he talked about the Notre Dame one, "I made the decision, the commitment here, the commitment to the coach, to the program, to the administrations, to the players, and just fired up to get spring ball in March for a championship repeat going." And he later on in that quote says, or just later on in this, while talking to the media, said, "I'm going to finish my football career at Utah." Now, if he gets a head coaching job opportunity, that is obviously very much so subject to change, right? But I do think he's going to finish his career at Utah. I just think with the way college football is trending right now, and I do think Eddie Ludwig would do a good job as a head coach, but a lot of coaches, they don't want to be a head coach. They don't want to have to deal with the media constantly. They don't want to have to deal with kind of the administrative stuff and just some of the stuff that comes from running a program, not just running a football team, running a college football program. And there's a lot more that goes into that than, say, just coaching your team. Coaching is by far still the most important thing, but there's a lot of other stuff. There's more of the recruiting forefront and all that kind of stuff. And Ludwig does a very good job in recruiting. But like I said, just when you're the head coach, it's another step up because you're involved in every single decision-making aspect of it. And I'm not just sure that's what Coach Ludwig wants at this point in his career. So I do expect him to stay on with Utah and just finish out his career with Coach Witt, maybe stay on with Scally for a little bit longer. But personally, I don't see him being a head coach. But I did think it was an interesting question that reporter asked it because that could speak to maybe there is some interest in Coach Ludwig. We just saw Coach Taylor who used to be Utah offensive coordinator, right? And the head coach at Sacramento State now is getting an opportunity at Stanford. Those kind of things can happen, right? To coaches. And it shows, look, I think a lot of college coaches are looking for the next young, hot head coach, right? Like a Lincoln Riley type candidate, but guys who know their stuff and have been around the game still get opportunities like Coach Taylor did. So it's going to be interesting to see how that whole situation plays out. Another thing I thought that was interesting that Cam talked about was he just talked about recruiting and how he's trying to recruit, some of the top guys in the state of California or just the guys that he knows to come to Utah. He called Utah a great program, just mentioned how they manage their players, and just having a coach like Coach Witt makes a huge difference. And I think he's absolutely right in that aspect. Just a guy who just knows the process inside and out, sets the standard so highly, the culture. There's a reason Utah has been bowl eligible forever now, right? I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, but they make a bowl game every single year pretty much, outside of that weird COVID season, which we're not counting anyways, as we've kind of established on this show with how weird the Pac-12 season was that year in general. So overall, I think it's really great that Cam, who has been the face of Utah football the last 2 years, is out recruiting in a state as prominent as California too. And I think having guys like Cam who are from that area able to speak so highly of Utah helps Utah, especially when they're going to be losing the Pac-12 foothold in, especially the Los Angeles market a little bit with, of course, USC and UCLA a year from now departing to go and play in the Big Ten. So I think it's great that Cam is out there on the recruiting trail, trying to do what he can to get some more guys to buy in and come along to this Utah football program. Cole Bishop was also in attendance for the Pac-12 Media Day, and he said he was asked by Yogi Roth, I believe, who what he's kind of learned from Devin and Clark. And I thought he gave a very interesting answer. He said Devin was more of a vocal leader, and then Clark kind of led by his work ethic. So he said he's learned from both and tried to incorporate both in his style of leadership. I think that's what any successful athlete does, right? They take what they've learned from the guys who are successful, but then also want to make a combination of, I want to have my own voice, pave my own path as well. I think that's very important. So I think it's great that he's pulling from a guy like Devin, who is such a natural born leader in terms of, like he said, being the more vocal guy, firing everyone up. And then Clark is a guy, I think we all remember those videos of him like hugging all the guys before they would go into a game. And we just know Clark, how hard he works. He's just constant energy, hard work, everything. So I think that's another big thing to learn from a guy like that. And I think it's great to see that Cole has learned from both those guys. And it's one thing for Cole to say, like, he feels like he's become a better leader, but it was great to say Cam even say, yeah, Cole, he's really stepped up as a leader, one of the faces of this defense. I thought that was really exciting and great to hear as well. Cole also said that one of the things that makes the Pac-12 so exciting this year is he was asked just about the QBs in the conference overall. And he said, there are so many good QBs. You have to prepare every week for someone with a different skill set, but all great, right? Some are mobile. So you try to look for the tendencies that prepare you the best to take on the guys who are mobile, the guys who have exceptional accuracy, the guys who can kind of do it all. When it comes to my mind, I'm sure one of the guys he's referring to is a Caleb Williams in that situation, right? So I do think being a defender in the Pac-12 this season is going to be incredibly hard with all the quarterback talent the Pac-12 has coming back and transferring in with guys like DJU and then Shedeur Sanders coming over as well. Cam even said that he can kind of learn from watching the other quarterbacks, right? Like just watching. Whenever you watch the best guys play in your sport, you can pick up something from them. So Cam even said, like, in the past, some of the games we've played, I've watched some of the guys and I'm kind of thinking like, yeah, I'm not really learning a lot from them. And I think that's where Cam said this group, he can tell he's going to learn a lot from watching their game each week overall. So I thought it was very interesting to hear that Cam is also excited to kind of get the quarterback play up as well, because I think they both know it's going to lead to a lot of great games, a lot of really good opponents. So if you want to accomplish the goals, like we heard Coach Witt talk about for this team, make a college football playoff, three-peat as Pac-12 champs, that hasn't been done, win a Rose Bowl. The way you do that is by stacking up wins against really good college football teams. And in case you guys haven't noticed on Utah's schedule, there's a lot of really good football teams. So they got a great opportunity to do that. And it's really exciting to hear that these guys are excited to take on those challenges overall. We're going to continue to talk about Pac-12 Media Day, the Cam and Cole Bishop media availability, and also Utah landing a 4-star running back in one moment. But first, I want to talk to you guys a little bit more about one of our friends of the show, and this one of the sponsors of this episode in eBay Motors. For a championship team, it's all about making sure every player is a perfect fit. It's the same when it comes to your vehicle. Every part needs to fit just right. So the next time you need parts and accessories, head to eBay Motors. With eBay Guaranteed Fit, you can be sure every part you need fits right the first time around. Just add your ride to the My Garage and look for the green check to know the part will fit, or your money back. Because just like in sports, confidence is the name of the game when you shop on eBay Motors. With over 122 million parts to choose from, you'll be back in the game in no time. After all, it's easy to bring home a win when the right parts are guaranteed. So get the right parts, the right fit, and the right prices on ebaymotors.com. Let's ride. eBay Guaranteed Fit, only available to U.S. customers. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. So make sure you guys head over to eBay Motors and get in on some of the great offers they have at ebaymotors.com. Alrighty, coming back into this one, we're going to talk about Lamar Radcliffe, the 4-star running back who committed to Utah in just a second, but a few more things I wanted to hit on media day before we jump off. Cam was asked directly about Jaquindon Jackson as well, and he said that he's excited because he thinks JJ is going to have just a phenomenal year. He's mentioned how he's worked hard all off season, and Cam is just excited to hand him out the ball and just watch him go to work. I mean, Cam is the best seat in the house, right? And JJ exceeding and just having those big plays and moments only helps the offense, right? So I'm sure he's excited to have such a dynamic back with him. It looks like he's expanded his prowess as a pass catcher, and we know what a potent runner of the football he was without even a full season trained to be a running back. So I expect a huge leap from JJ, and it sounds like Cam does as well. Cam also is talking about the doubters that Utah faces. He says it is what it is on Utah being doubted by the preseason poll, and that they can find out come the season. And it is absolutely the right mindset to have. I also like that Cam just said it is what it is. Not like, as we talked about yesterday's show, right? For those of you who didn't get a chance to tune in, I just said Coach Witt saying like they don't care about where Utah's placement in the Pac-12 is. It's kind of true, kind of not, because they will have that bulletin board material. They will use that to motivate their players. So do they really care in terms of like losing sleep over it, all of that? No, if anything, they might be a little excited about it because once again, it can be used as that bulletin board material. But to say they just like completely disregard it and won't bring it up, I just don't think that's true, because we've seen this time and time again with these coaches, right? They use this stuff as motivation, because then you get Georgia football players from last year's team, right, that are saying we're only picked to win 5 games. Maybe one random media pundit said that, but no one else did. So they find those obscure things to motivate themselves, just like Utah will. Cole even said that they like being doubted, and it shows, and it just proves to them, hey, we just got to keep working to try to get and earn that respect. Cole mentioned like, hey, the Utah football brand still gets a lot of respect, but it started to get a lot of respect, but there's still more respect we can get, and we got to earn. That's not given. You have to go out there and earn it, which is absolutely the right mindset you have to have, in my opinion. So we're going to talk a little bit more about what Cole and Cam said at Pac-12 Media Day in a moment. But first, let's talk about Lamar Radcliffe. The 2024 recruiting class for this Utah football team is looking great. When you get Isaac Wilson, get some defensive linemen in there. We know we got elite corners, also some elite receivers coming in as well, or one elite receiver at the moment right now. But Lamar Radcliffe getting a 2024 4-star running back commit to Utah is huge. This is the kind of guy who, just had this been, let's say, like last year at this time, this is the type of player that wouldn't have committed to Utah until after they won back-to-back Pac-12 championships. So it's great you're getting a player of this caliber to pair with a guy like Wilson in this recruiting class in the summertime. When you're talking about Radcliffe, you're talking about a 6'1", 225 running back, physical back who just bounces off defenders, makes quick cuts, hard cuts too, just long strides, great vision. So many plays he's not even touched because of that combination of speed and vision. Like he just sees and hits the hole perfectly, and his long strides and just the speed he has just allow him to just burst past defenders, just fly by those guys. Also a nice stiff arm too, can throw defenders in the dirt. He really does a great job bouncing off guys too. Some of his best plays are just him running over defenders, bouncing off arm tackles and contact, and still staying up. And after he slows down, when you take those hits, you slow down a little bit. He's able to quickly get back up to his top speed too and create that separation too. He's also got great speed, exceptional vision, and just a really tough back overall too. So this is a guy I think is a great get. He is coming off an injury and a surgery that he had, but I expect him to come back, have a strong senior season out in Sacramento. And I think this is a guy I'm really excited about. I mean, I definitely think this is a guy who will have a chance to have a Jalen Glover type impact his freshman year, play a little bit in 24, but not a lot. And I think, like I said, has a chance to. I'm not saying he will for sure, but if anything else, too, just can red shirt. And this is a guy who's definitely going to get carries in the Utah backfield because he's just too talented not to give him the ball. Just whenever I watch guys bounce off defenders like that, that's something that gets me really excited, because whenever you can survive tackles you need to be able to survive high school level tackles in order to survive college level tackles. And he's able to do that. In fact, there are runs where he survives multiple high school level tackles, which obviously you don't really see running backs survive multiple college level tackles. That happens every once in a while, but he's the type of guy with the potential to do that. So that is something that really excites me overall about Radcliffe as well. This is the kind of guy I can just see like the O block carving a path, and he sees a hole and he hits it. I see some signs of 2021 Tavion Thomas in this game. Just that size, the speed, the physicality. Just Tavion was such a big back, right? But he was still had that burst, able to you get the hole open and he hits it and he flies through for a 50-yard touchdown, a 40-yard touchdown, whatever it is. I think Radcliffe definitely has that type of potential to be a home run hitter and a stronger type of back too. He's also a guy Can be an asset in the return game too. And on pass protection, he can play. He does a good job staying in the backfield, protecting quarterbacks, picking up blitzes is something he does very well at the high school level too. So that's another thing that could allow him to play early on, is that exceptional strength that's going to allow him to take on some of those college level linebackers or defensive ends or wherever he has to just stand up for a second on a blitz just to give Wilson, Nate Johnson, Brandon Rose, whoever the quarterback is, enough time to get that ball away. So yeah, like I mentioned, huge fan of Radcliffe's game. And I just, once again, just speaks to where Utah is at a recruiting standpoint. It's just so exciting to see these 4 stars committing to Utah. I believe he's a 3-star, someone said, like right now, but then by the time the season's over, he's going to get rated to a 4. This is another 4-star guy, or eventually will be a 4-star guy that Utah was able to pick up. And that's just, it's huge to building this program. And I think the thing that excites me is, yes, Utah has won Pac-12 championships by finding the diamonds in the rough. And those guys are really important too. But the Utah just recruits the right type of players overall. We've seen it. There are always going to be situations where guys don't work out, but for the most part, I trust this staff to choose the right players to fit their system and their culture. And they've done that and had a lot of success, right? And now when you get a guy like Radcliffe who fits the cultural aspect, but compared to those 2 and 3 stars, just has that higher level of ceiling, that's something that gets me really exciting. And I know gets Coach Witt, Andy Ludwig, and just the entire staff excited about the opportunity to work with a guy as talented as he is, because he has the chance to be the next sensational big Utah running back, right? I don't know. I'm not saying he's going to come in here and be Zach Moss, but I definitely think he's got potential to come in, make game-changing plays in Rice Eccles Stadium, and can definitely be the type of back who averages over 100 yards rushing per game. It's always going to be tough in a Utah backfield, especially as recently with the high level of recruits that this Utah team continues to bring in, but Radcliffe's got a shot. So just a guy to keep an eye on, definitely. And yeah, it's great that this Utah team continues to bring in 4-star recruits. We're going to come back in 1 second and talk about Cole and Cam Rising and a couple more of the comments they made at Pac-12 Media Day. But first, I want to talk to you guys about our friends at LinkedIn Jobs. These days, every new potential hire can feel like a high-stakes wager for your small business. You want to be 100% certain that you have the access to the best qualified candidates available. That's why you check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the right people for your team faster and for free. Guys, it's really easy to set up a LinkedIn job post. You can just go over and add your purple hashtag hiring friend to your LinkedIn profile to spread the word that you're hiring. There's simple tools like screening questions that make it easy to focus on candidates with just the right skills and experience, so you can quickly prioritize who you'd like to interview and hire. LinkedIn Jobs is actually rated #1 by small businesses in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. There's lots of great candidates out there ready to go to work with a great resume. Let LinkedIn help you find the best talented people for your position. So make sure you guys head over to LinkedIn Jobs, because LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That's all caps, one word, Locked On College. And once again, that's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post your job for free. Terms and conditions may apply. So make sure you guys head over to LinkedIn Jobs and get your job post going today. All right, jumping back into Cole and Cam's comments. One thing I was really excited about was they were asked directly about the Florida game. That's obviously something we're all looking forward to. We're less than 50 days away from the season opener. We are a little over a month away now. I believe I'm recording this on Monday, July 24th. So we are about a happy Pioneer Day to all of those of you who celebrate as well. Should have mentioned that earlier. And just in general for this, the game, we're quickly approaching it overall. So it's exciting that we're closing in on that opportunity. Cole said that he's most excited for the Florida game because they're looking to play better. They know they struggled to tackle, and just defensively, it wasn't a great outing for them. So they said they're looking forward to it to come out to a win this year. And Cam said too, he's looking forward to getting another shot at Florida. I think for Cam as well, as I've mentioned too, just being the type of level of competitor he is, and just how I'm sure he's hard on himself, and all as all the great players in college football or any great athlete is, they're very hard on themselves and critical on themselves. I'm sure in some ways he feels like he let the team down, and in some ways even maybe lost him the game because Utah had a chance to win. He threw an interception. I do not feel that way. I do not feel like Cam lost Utah the game. There are a lot more things that went into the loss, but I am saying, if I was the player that made the turnover in that position, and I know most athletes think that a lot of athletes, especially a lot of the great ones, do think that way. Like, I made the play to let my team down because they're so hard on themselves. I could very easily see Cam viewing the situation that way. And that's where I think that he's really excited to get another opportunity at Florida, because Cam did play a really good game overall against Florida, just had that really tough turnover late in the game that cost Utah big, obviously. So I'm sure he's really excited to get another shot at Florida, and even more so excited than he indicated in this interview. I thought he kept it kind of on the down low, but just got to imagine with the way that Utah's perception was changed after losing to a middle tier to even bottom tier SEC team. I try to remember what Florida's perception was. I thought Florida was projected to be a mid SEC team last year because of Anthony Richardson's presence. And obviously he won't be there. So Utah hasn't even, I just believe that this year's Florida team is going to be even a little bit worse than last year's team, at least in the first game, because they are breaking in a new quarterback, the most important position in the sport. And Graham Mertz or whoever it is not capable of making those special Heisman type plays that only a very select few quarterbacks can make in a sport in general. Whoever starts for Florida is not going to be able to make those plays that Anthony Richardson did. And Brandon also made a good point. I saw an episode of his pod recently, like saying like, hey, well, Anthony Richardson also missed some throws that some other quarterbacks hit. That is very true. And that's what could make this a little bit of a different game, but it just takes those special types of performances, in my opinion, like the one you would need from an Anthony Richardson type of player in order to come into a place like Rice-Eccles Stadium and win. And that's why I still feel good about Utah's chances, but we're going to be talking about that game a lot more too. One of the other interesting things that Cam was asked about, Yogi Roth asked him about this, was he said he is doing everything he can to be mentally ready for the game. He's just doing every type of throw movement he can think of so that nothing feels unfamiliar for him when he gets back in a game type setting. We know that he's been throwing. He mentioned that in the media availability as well, just that he is feeling better overall. So I think it's great that he's also just when rehabbing can be such a grind. I mean, we've heard from so many athletes how just difficult and grueling the rehab process can be, right? So I think that's something for Cam to know that he's taking the right steps mentally and just trying to put himself in those different positions and situations that he's setting himself up to succeed potentially overall, which I think is a great thing in general. Cole, one thing that was interesting was Cole was asked, like, how did he find out Cam was coming back? And he said that they just went into the meeting on Monday and Cam was just sitting there and he's like, all right, sweet. Cole said that he kind of figured that Cam would end up coming back just based on comments, or I believe he said he made in the past, but still fun to hear. Like that was his official, like, no point. Like there's some indecision there and you walk in and you're like, oh, hey, there's our back-to-back Pac-12 championship winning quarterback sitting right there. So I know that was something that was really excited for them overall as well. Cam also said it was a little bit of a long process after the Pac-12 championship game, but he decided he wanted to come back. It sounds like he had his mind made up before the Rose Bowl that he was going to come back, but still interesting to hear overall. And the last thing I thought was noteworthy that Cam talked about was that he said the pass catchers are doing good, and he's really excited to get to work with some of the new guys, the Micah Pittmans, the Emery Simmons as well, and Mikey Matthews, who's making plays. Said they're all playing at a high level, and I know he's excited to have even more options and weapons on the outside, but he did caution people, don't forget about the tight ends, because we know he said, you don't forget about what Brand did, and then Thomas as well, and I'm sure if he even was thinking about it more in depth rather than just in a media setting, probably would have even highlighted a guy like a Landon King or some of the other tight ends, right? So really exciting and talented group of pass catchers that Cam is going to be play with. And it was just great to hear from Cam and Cole at Pac-12 Media Day, especially a guy like Cole, right? Who doesn't, Cam's been to this for 2 years now, is used to having the spotlight on him. It's always nice when you get a guy like Cole, who's been such an essential piece to Utah, repeating as Pac-12 champions, getting some of that spotlight on him. That was something I was really excited about, the opportunity for Cole to be able to do. And sounds like both of them had a great time Pac-12 Media Day, and it was always great to hear from them. And the other great thing about Pac-12 Media Day means we're that much closer to the college football season. And you know what else means we're that much closer to the college football season? Pac-12 all preseason teams being released. The Pac-12 preseason teams were released, and there was no Cam Rising on first, second, or honorable mention. And Jaquindon Jackson wasn't even available to vote up for on the ballot. We're going to be talking about that on tomorrow's show with Porter Larson. So make sure you guys join us then. But thank you as always for listening to Locked On Utes. Once again, like and subscribe. I'd love to interact with you guys in the comments and always appreciate your listen and support. As always, go Utes, and we'll see you next time.